let me see if I need to start over. Life is an experiment. It's a beautiful experiment. So this is the first time I'm doing this. Well, the second time I'm doing this, but the first time I've had an interruption. So this is what happens with life. How do you get to master life without having challenges? You know, there is a saying that no great sailor became great by navigating smooth seas. So I guess this is my rough sea for now. I welcome it, I embrace it, and this is just life. So for those who are on Facebook who we had an interruption just now, I'm not so sure when it is that the video went. I will just start as if I'm starting for the first. For those on Instagram, just bear with me. I will just start again. So it's 8:04. Welcome. Welcome to Master Your Life. I am Winroy, your life mastery coach. And today we're really going to be taking a look at how to effectively manage your time. I really believe that the content that I'm about to share could be beneficial to your friends, to your colleagues, and as such, I encourage you to share this video with your friends and colleagues. I'm also inviting you to, as you see what I share, as you hear what I share, you may comment, and I would be quite happy to tag along with you. But as usual, I love to start with a story. You know, I find great power in sharing stories. Stories really share. It serves the purpose of laying a foundation for you to build on what it is that you want to speak about. So there is this university lecturer who had delivered a pre-exam talk on time management. So he was in front of the class. On his desk, he had some items: a bag of sand, a bag of pebbles, some big rocks, and a bucket. So he asked one volunteer in the class to come forward and to pack these substances in the bucket. So one bright student went up to the front of the class and attempted the task. And what she did was to actually start by putting in the sand, then putting in the pebbles, and attempted to put in the rock. But of course, all did not fit in the bucket. And the lecturer interrupted by saying, "Oh, you know, this is a perfect analogy. It's actually an analogy of a poor time management act." So he said to the students and the rest of the class, if you had put in the big rocks first, then the pebbles, then the sand, then all would fit perfectly well. And then he went on to tell them more about why it is a good teaching moment for time management, because it is just like life. If it is that you complete your biggest task first, you will leave room for fitting in the smallest task that you will have to do later. If, however, you do it the other way by putting in the small task first, leaving little or no time for the bigger task. And that's really what life is about. So the moral of the story is that we're really, considering that we have so much to do in so-called so little time, we really should plan blocks of time for our big issues before anything else, or the inevitable sand and pebble issues will fill up our days and we won't get to fit in the rocks, which are the big issues, right? So let's stop and think for a moment. Perhaps you haven't really thought about it, but we all use time. Absolutely, we use time. In fact, most people I know, they want more time in a day. Yes, more people want more than 24 hours in a day. And this is why it's important to stop and have a conversation about how to effectively manage your time. And this is why I'm here. I'm here to offer you some value, however it is that I can, to help you to manage your time. In fact, I'm managing my time now. I have committed a slot of time, which I believe is my time to give, to add to the world, to help to increase the thinking, to increase the value that persons walk around with. So I see myself as a person of increase, and this is why I've slot away this very important time to share with you. So a leading thought that I want to share with you is that no single person on this earth, not one that I know of that is, has more than 24 hours in a day. So you might ask, so how is it that some people get so much done in one day? And there are some people who just have little or nothing to do, and they get little or nothing to do in a day. So here's a teaching I want to share with you. In fact, it was Albert Einstein, that genius, who said, if he had an hour to solve a problem and his life depended on the solution, he would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For he believes that once he asks the proper question, he believes he could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. Something to think about. Yes? Something to think about. You know, as usual, I drink a little bit of water. You might wonder what this has to do with time management. Well, I'm not so sure, but I'm drinking water. So, time management is an important skill. So important a skill it is that it can actually help to lead you to more success that you desire in life. So, if you think about it, this is clearly a skill that you would want to one, acquire or to improve if you have. It's almost like juggling a football. You only get better by practicing. So, I am about now to share with you some ways in which you can effectively manage your time. And if you practice these, like juggling a football, you will become a better juggler, pun intended. If you think about it, what we really do is juggle time. We have so many things to do in one day, and we juggle. We try to put the best foot forward to do the right things first, right? So here are a few things that I would like to offer as some strategies as how you can use your time or manage your time more effectively. And the first one is that you can use your time productively. Productively, yes. What productively means is that you want to make sure that that which you have in mind to do, you get it done. And to do that, it means you have to do some planning. So it means you will have to plan your day or your week or the month or the year. And this planning really obviously depends on the nature of the job that you do. Clearly, I'm talking to people who work, right? It's also dependent on the type of life you live. I mean, there are some people who just vacation for life. I don't know how they do that, but yeah, some people do that. So let's think about it in a real practical sense now. What do I mean when I say use your time productively? Well, if you think about somebody like a member of a sales team, a member of a sales team might need to plan on a monthly basis to see certain clients per day, per week. Or a bank manager might need to plan quarterly or even biannually because of how he or she manages the bank. Or a medium-sized or large organization, or a country for that matter, should plan like several years ahead. And when you do that, you're actually using your time more productively. And what that means for me, the acronym PLAN, the P means you need to prepare. So prepare means, so for example, when I woke up this morning, what it is that I wanted to achieve by the end of the day, that's my vision, where I want to be, where I want to go. Now, why do I want to do that? That's my mission. So you have to establish what your vision is, where you want to go, what your mission is, why you want to go there. I want to share, I want to add value to the world to make this a better place, to get people thinking. So I had that as a plan. And so I prepared for this session, making sure that I have everything that would make this session the best value that I can offer to you. But I also have to have objectives. How am I going to get this done? I need to have my computer, I need to have my light, my whatever. You must have your objectives. The L in plan means you have to list. You have to have some goals. You have to have some objectives and timelines. And it's best that you list them, put them down, write them down. And then you have to act. That's very important. So it's like having a goal in your mind, but you have no plan. And if you don't act, you can't execute the very plans that you're planning. So it's important to act. And not only act, you need to execute the plans strategically. And lastly, the N in plan means note. How do you really assess your plans? How do you assess what it is that you set out to do? You have to note your successes and your failures, or your feedback, as I'd love to call it. So that's the first way I believe that you can effectively manage your time, by using your time productively, by planning. The second way I believe you can better manage your time or effectively manage your time, of course, in addition to drinking water, is to organize your task. So I mentioned listing your task, but it's not just about listing your task. It's important to organize your task in terms of importance. So here's what this looks like. Think about this for a moment. You have listed some tasks, but they are not in any particular order of how you should do them, because some things are important, not so important, that's other things. So here's what I want you to bear in mind. Efficiency is doing things right, but effectiveness is doing the right things. So you could be doing things, but you're not doing the right things. You're not taking out the big rocks. You're probably focusing on the sand or the pebble, when it's more important to focus on the rocks. Now, your ability to plan and organize your work in advance is really about, at any given point in time, you wanting to be doing the task which is of the highest value in that moment. In fact, there are studies that show that 95% of your success will be determined by the kind of action, habits you develop over time. So it's very important to organize your task. Now, Brian Tracy, I'm sure some persons on this call must have heard about Brian Tracy. He's a motivational speaker and a self-development author. And he developed a method of priorities, which he called the ABCDE method of priorities. Yep. And essentially what this process is really about listing the tasks that you have to execute and sorting these tasks in such a way that you assign a degree of importance using the letters A to E, where A is most important and E refers to the task that is least important. So essentially what that looks like is like you have an A task. It means it's very important, something you must do. And it is so important that if you don't do it, it has serious negative consequences. Now, what does that look like? Well, as I'm thinking here, it's like renewing your car insurance. If you don't renew your car insurance, what's going to happen? Well, you'll be driving a car around without insurance. If you have an accident, you're in problem, you're on your own. Or the policeman could just give you a ticket. Another example could be that you know for a fact that you need to submit a particular monthly report. And if you don't submit that report, you won't get your commission. Well, guess what? Don't submit the report, you won't get the commission. So that's a very important task that you want to make sure that you do. A B task would be one that is important, but something that is not as important as an A task. And while it has consequences, the consequences are kind of a minor negative nature, yeah? So for example, like returning an important message to a person or an unimportant telephone call to somebody, but there's no urgency to it. So it's important, but not very important. And the C task would be like a task that is nice to do, but not as important as an A or a B. Like, I'm just going to have lunch with a friend. Well, there's nothing that demands that I must do it. There's no negative consequence. And as such, I don't have to do it. And then the D tasks are those that you can delegate. You don't have to do them. Just give it to somebody who can do it better than you. For example, preparing a flyer for the next event that you're planning to have. You can just give somebody else to do that. Pay them to promote your services by doing that flyer. And the E task, in fact, if you have E tasks, sometimes you probably don't need them, because E really means you need to eliminate them wherever possible. And for me, one example is like cutting my lawn. I mean, clearly many years ago, I would have been at university. I don't have a house. I don't have a house to take care. I live on the block. But then, as you know, you acquire some place where you live. You start to cut the lawn. But then as you get busier, cutting the lawn is the least thing that you have on your mind. So probably cutting the lawn really is exercise for you. But I'd rather pay somebody to do it. So it's one of those tasks that you can eliminate. You don't have to physically do it yourself. So when you use this ABCDE method as proposed by Brian Tracy, essentially what it does, it helps you to sort and execute tasks which are important and avoid doing the tasks which are unimportant, right? And it allows you to focus your time and your energy on what is more essential for you to get done. Now, in his book, Eat That Frog, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time, Brian Tracy actually recommends that we should do the biggest and most important task first. Now, guess what he says? He says, every morning you should eat your frog. Yes, I said it. He says you should eat the frog. Yes. The biggest, most important task is the one you're most likely to procrastinate about. And that's your frog. That's something you don't want to do. You procrastinate doing something that you probably should do, but you don't want to do it. So he calls this the frog. He believes that if you take care of the frog in the morning, it's more likely you can take care of anything else in the day. And in fact, when you take care of the frog in the morning, it might have the greatest positive impact on your life and the results in that moment. So let me give you some examples of this frog that he speaks about. I remember when I was in fourth form in high school. So I'm speaking to students now. So if you're a student and you're connected, here's what I'm saying to you. Believe it or not. In school, I hated English literature. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't like it. Honestly, I'm saying I hated it. I just didn't like it at all. I just hate it. But that was my frog. Because when I was in fourth form, I recognized that I needed to perform equally well across all subjects. All subjects. So what did I do? I ate my English literature frog by seriously setting my mind to just reading this book and just getting over with it. And that was a great frog to have eaten, because then I was able to get a very good average and ended up in the fourth form that I wanted to. Now, another frog I can tell you about is that, in not so long ago, I was a medical representative and I would see my clients, doctors. And there are some doctors, no, I'm not suggesting that a doctor is a frog. Let me be clear about that. But there are some doctors who are not the nicest doctors, but they give you a lot of business. So what do? You want to see those persons first. Because it's when you see that person first, it sets your day in order, because you know you get that person out the way. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are an entrepreneur. What could be your frog? Your frog could be that a client, somebody you know you need to see. If you don't see this person, you're not going to get the business that you're pursuing, but you want to get it out of the way. Or you might be a business executive and you have to set up a particular meeting with a client that you have probably never met before. You hear that this person is rather difficult, and the person says, well, how about a breakfast meeting? Now, ironically, you will have to meet this person at breakfast. And when you think about it, if you don't eat this frog, probably you might just be eaten by this frog. In other words, you want to take care of that situation by setting your day first how you want it, right? So it's important. So the key point is that the frog is really the task that you hate doing. And in fact, Brian Tracy speaks about rules of frog eating, believe it or not. He says, if you have to eat 2 frogs, you should eat the uglier one first. And the uglier one really is the one that you would procrastinate on more. Yes? And it is also the one that if you eat it first, it probably have a greater impact on the success that you desire. And the second rule of frog eating is that if you have to eat a live frog, it does not pay to sit and look at it. It does not pay to sit and look at it for very long, because guess what? Procrastination kills. And in this case, it is not the frog, the task that would die. It's probably you, in that you would not achieve the success that you desire or you have envisioned. So the third step or way that I'd love to share with you that you can utilize to manage your time more effectively is to really create the right environment, whatever that looks like for you. So it might be, make sure that you have a very nicely laid out office, or it might be outdoors. You like the breeze, the natural, light from outside, or you want to work with some music if that works for you. For me, I like a very organized space. I think much easier. I find it helps with my clarity. So the right environment is also important. Now, the fourth thing that I would recommend that you certainly consider if you want to effectively manage your time is to not multitask. Now, if you don't believe this, let me ask you this question. If I for some reason said I want you to focus on this palm of mine. Now look at the M in my hand. Now while you're looking at that M in this hand, I want you not to take your eye off this, but to focus on this at the same time. Now the truth is you can't, because what will happen is that you're going to divide your attention. And when you divide your attention, it means that you are switching from one task to another. So the truth is, humans are fooling themselves when they say that they multitask. So my advice is that you should focus on one task at a time, because multitasking simply is a waste of time. That's my view. Now, the fifth way that I want you to consider effectively managing your time is to minimize distractions. For example, I'm doing this call and for some reason I turn my head because I have to take a call. Well, that's a distraction. I'm not going to do that. So when you're doing a task, you should minimize your distractions. So you could put the phone on silent, or you know you don't want to watch any TV or distracted by TV, just turn off the TV. Or you could use an app on your phone that says, look, block me between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. of all social media. Yes, there are apps for that. Minimize distractions also means that you should minimize your interruptions. So probably you work at home. Working at home is not necessarily the best thing, because then you might just not have the mindset of being at work. So everything happens. So somebody knocks at your gate, you go and you're interrupted. So you want to minimize those distractions. Now, if you know that you can be distracted by any of what I've just mentioned before, just disconnect yourself from them. Just disconnect yourself. And then the last way that I'll recommend that you consider to better manage your time is really to stick to a daily schedule. Now, whatever that looks like. Now, we sleep, we work, we play, and we do other things. But essentially, we have a schedule. Now, I like to schedule all that I have to do, believe it or not. All that I have to do, because my personality is such that I like organization. No, the world will survive with people who are not so organized, and that's okay. But for me, what works is that I actually have a schedule in my phone, and sometimes it's backed up by me writing some of those important tasks on a sheet of paper, and I will travel with it on a daily basis. And as I get those tasks done, I will tick them off, and I will tick them off. And it makes me feel productive once I get the big rocks out the way. Now, when you adhere to your daily schedule, it means you're able to assess where you are, what you have achieved, what you have left to do, and more importantly, it can help you schedule within your day breaks. And one of the things that I love to talk about is my nothingness time. So there's a time when I just do nothing. It's like I'm looking up in the sky and I'm counting the stars in the middle of the day. Now, how many people can do that? You can't really see the stars, right? So for me, that is my kind of nothingness time. You really have to schedule time for yourself, downtime, whatever time you call it, where you just sometimes do nothing. It's absolutely important. Another thing that you want to do in adhering to a daily schedule is to make sure you sleep. Don't go through one day and don't sleep. Sleep is important. In fact, a friend of mine sent a study like last night about people who are deprived of sleep. They are probably more likely, several times more likely to get a heart attack. So sleep is very important. And that's really about managing your time. So you want to make sure you schedule enough time to sleep so you can rest, so that you can be most productive. And you also want to schedule to work at times when you know you're most productive. Like me, I'm a very nocturnal person, so I get alive at night. I work at night. I'm not really a morning person. If I have to do it, I will do it. But I'm most productive at nights. So if you know what works for you, stick to it, right? So those are the 6 ways that I'd love to share with you today. We're almost at the end of the call. 6 ways that I've shared with you that you can better manage your time. They're very simple, but very effective if you put them into action. And speaking about action, I'm gonna ask for you to take action. I'd encourage you to share this video. I'd love for you to follow me as well at Peak U Coaching Speaking Training. It's my page on Facebook as well. Follow me on Instagram as well at Winroy Williams and at PQ Coaching. I'm also on LinkedIn at Winroy Williams. Follow me at Twitter. My handle is at Winroy Williams. And I share a lot of stuff on a daily basis. And I'd love for you to view, like, comment, and share. I'd be so happy. I'd love for you to also visit my website, which is simply winroywilliams.com. And I would love for everyone on this call and anybody who would be watching this video after to claim your free gift. I've written an ebook which is entitled 50 Powerful Quotes for Motivating You. And I'm encouraging you to go there, claim your gift by putting in your name and your address, and your book will come straight to you. It's a small book with 50 powerful quotes, and I really want you to get that. That's my gift to you. The next thing that I'd love for you to do, if you feel like that which I've shared just now is of interest to you, share it with others. If it is that you would like to learn more and go deeper with some of the material that I've shared, or if you feel like you'd love to have a personal coach, I would love to be your personal coach. I'd be super delighted to be of service to you as you step into the highest version of who you are. So you could just email me. Email me at winroywilliams@gmail.com, and I'd be really happy to serve you. So in summary, what did we look at tonight? So here is time management. It's 8:29. We're almost at the end of the call. We close at 8:30. This is time management. So in summary, what we looked at time management. We regard it as an important skill. It's like learning how to juggle a ball or learning how to ride a bicycle. But the more you practice, the better you get at it. And in fact, when you implement and practice time management skills, you only will become greater at that skill. And it will lead to better success in the various areas of your life. So remember, procrastination is really a common reason for failure. And you procrastinate many times because you're not managing your time very well. You're not choosing the big rocks, or you're choosing the sand, or you're choosing the pebble at the wrong time. Remember, you want to be effective, you want to be efficient. So you can avoid failing by developing the habits, some of which I've just shared. It's not an exhaustive list, so feel free to read more into some of what I've shared. And then I'd love to say, until next week, I'd love for you to take care. And remember, time management is a skill, and it's a skill you want to have, and you want to make every minute counts. So until next week, take care. Pack in the rocks. Pack in the rocks. Then the sand. After the pebbles. Take care until next week.